I should have known something was wrong when the apartment was too quiet. My pack alpha, Taejun, usually had music playing when he was home. The silence pressed against my ears as I kicked off my shoes, balancing the birthday cake I'd picked up from the bakery. 23 years old today. 5 years bonded. I'd left work early to surprise him. The bedroom door was cracked open. I heard it before I saw it, a breathy sound that made my stomach drop. The cake box slipped from my hands, hitting the floor with a muffled thud. Through the gap I saw them, Taejun's bare back. Another Omega beneath him, dark hair splayed across our pillows. And a rounded belly, swollen and unmistakable, pressed between their bodies. Pregnant. Heavily pregnant. The world tilted sideways. Taejun. My voice came out small, broken. He didn't even startle. Just pulled away slowly, deliberately, like he'd been expecting this. The other Omega, Mincio, I realized with another jolt, sat up and placed a protective hand over his belly. He looked at me with something between pity and triumph. Yohan. Taejun's voice was flat. Cold. Like I was a stranger who'd interrupted something important. You're home early. It's my birthday. The words felt stupid leaving my mouth. Childish. I wanted to surprise you. Well. He reached for his shirt, unhurried. Surprise. Mincio shifted, letting the blanket fall away enough to emphasize his condition. I'm sorry you had to find out this way, Yohan. But maybe it's better. Secrets were becoming exhausting. My bond mark burned. The bite on my neck where Taejun had claimed me 5 years ago felt like it was on fire. How long? For months. Mincio's hand rubbed circles over his stomach. We're having twins. For months. While I'd been cooking Taejun's favorite meals, planning our anniversary trip, taking those awful fertility treatments that made me sick. 4 months of lies. Get dressed, Taejun said, finally looking at me. His eyes were empty. I'm calling an emergency pack meeting. The living room filled quickly. Our pack wasn't large, 15 members, including Taejun and myself. They arrived within the hour, sensing the alpha's distress through the pack bonds. I sat in the corner, still wearing my work clothes, watching them file in. My best friend Juno avoided my eyes. The pack elder, grandmother Shin, looked at me with something like disappointment. Mincio sat beside Taejun on the main couch, his pregnant belly on full display. He'd dressed carefully, a fitted shirt that emphasized his condition, his hand never leaving the swell. Thank you for coming. Taejun's voice carried the alpha command that made everyone straighten. We need to discuss Yohan's position in this pack. My position. Like I was a piece of furniture being evaluated. He's been bonded to me for 5 years, Taejun continued. 5 years without producing a single pup. The fertility specialists found nothing wrong, which means the problem is him. His body refuses to accept my seed. Shame burned through me. These were my pack members. My family. And he was discussing my body like it was public property. The pack needs pups, Grandmother Shin said, her voice carrying weight. That's the Omega's primary duty. To nurture and grow the pack. I tried. My voice cracked. I took every treatment. Did everything the doctors said? Not everything, Mincio interrupted softly, smugly. I conceived within the first month. The room went silent. Several pack members nodded, like this proved something fundamental about my worth. You're defective. The words came from Juno, my best friend. The one who'd held me through negative pregnancy test after negative pregnancy test. I'm sorry, Yohan, but we have to think about the pack's future. 5 years is too long to wait. I didn't know we were waiting for permission to replace me. Bitterness leaked into my tone. Watch your attitude, Taejun snapped. This is exactly the problem. You're too emotional. Too difficult. A proper Omega accepts their shortcomings with grace. I stared at him. At this man I'd loved, built a life with, planned a future with. You cheated on me. You got another Omega pregnant while bonded to me. And I'm the problem. You were a mistake. Each word landed like a physical blow. I thought I could make it work. Thought maybe you'd eventually conceive. But Mincio has proven what I suspected. There's nothing wrong with me. The problem is you. The pack elder stood. I move that the bond be formally severed. Yohan has failed in his Omega duties and no longer serves the pack's interests. Seconded, Juno said quietly. I looked around the room desperately. These people had celebrated my bonding day. Eaten meals at my table. Let me care for their children during pack gatherings. Not a single person met my eyes. All in favor? Taejun asked. Every hand rose. Unified. Decisive. The pack elder approached me, her weathered hand touching my bond mark. By pack law and Omega failing, I sever this bond. You are released from pack protection and Omega duties. The pain was instant and devastating. Like someone had reached into my chest and ripped out something vital. The bond that had connected me to Taejun, that warm constant presence, snapped. I screamed, doubling over as agony tore through every nerve. Through blurred vision, I saw Taejun flinch but not move to comfort me. Minseo's hand tightened on his arm, keeping him seated. You have 1 hour to collect your personal belongings, Grandmother Shin announced. Anything purchased with pack funds remains pack property. They supervised my packing. Juno and 2 other pack members stood in the bedroom doorway while I pulled clothes from the closet. The dresser Taejun had bought for our first anniversary, pack property. The jewelry from various celebrations, pack property. Books, kitchen supplies, even the art supplies I'd bought with my own money were deemed gifts from pack funds. I was left with 1 small suitcase of clothes and my phone. 5 years reduced to 20 pounds of belongings. The snow started as they walked me to the door. December in Seoul was brutal, and I had nowhere to go. My family had disowned me when I presented as Omega and chose to bond with Taejun against their wishes. You made your bed, my father had said. Lie in it. Yohan. Juno caught my arm at the door. For a moment, I thought he might apologize. Offer help. Don't come back, he said instead. It'll be easier for everyone if you just disappear. The door closed behind me with a final click. I walked without direction, my body moving on autopilot while my mind fractured. The cold bit through my thin jacket, but I barely felt it. The bond severance had left a gaping wound in my chest that made physical discomfort seem distant. Where could I go? No family. No friends outside the pack. My job barely paid enough for the small contributions I'd made to pack expenses. Certainly not enough for a security deposit on an apartment. The snow fell harder, coating my hair and shoulders. My suitcase wheels caught on ice, and I stumbled into an alley between 2 buildings. Sheltered from the wind. Dark enough to hide. I collapsed against the wall, my body finally giving out. That's when the heat hit. It shouldn't have been possible, my cycle wasn't due for weeks. But trauma could trigger an emergency heat, my doctor had warned. The body's desperate attempt to re-establish bonds after losing them. Fire spread through my veins. My skin became hypersensitive, every snowflake that melted against me feeling like a burn. The Omega biology I'd cursed for 5 years of failure now betrayed me completely. I'd die here, in this alley, going into heat with no alpha to protect me. Maybe they were right. Maybe I was defective. Broken. Worthless. My vision blurred, consciousness slipping. The cold and the heat warred inside my body, tearing me apart from the inside out. This is how it ends, I thought. Alone. Forgotten. Footsteps echoed in the alley, but I couldn't lift my head to look. Probably someone who'd smell my heat and take advantage. Or maybe just ignore me, another worthless Omega dying in the snow. Oh God, Taejun. Here. Is he? He's burning up. Emergency heat. We need to move him now. Strong hands lifted me. 2 different alpha scents, oddly complementary rather than competing, wrapped around me. My Omega instincts screamed danger. 2 alphas meant fighting, meant being torn apart. But the hands were gentle. The voices urgent but kind. We've got you, someone said against my ear. You're safe now. I promise you're safe. I wanted to argue, to explain that nowhere was safe, that I was defective and broken and not worth saving. But darkness pulled me under, and for the first time since finding Taejun in our bed, I let myself fall. I woke to voices arguing outside a closed door. Barely weighed anything. How long was he starving? The voice was warm, concerned. Medical. Look at the bruises on his wrists. Those are restraint marks. This voice was colder, sharp with anger. I'm a doctor, Siwon. I saw them. My body ached everywhere, the kind of deep exhaustion that follows a heat. But something was wrong. I wasn't in pain. Someone had cared for me through it. Kept me hydrated. The realization made my skin crawl with shame and fear. What did they want in return? The door opened. 2 alphas entered, and my body instinctively pressed back against the headboard. They were striking, one with dark hair and gentle eyes, wearing a cardigan that made him look soft despite his alpha build. The other was taller, sharper, dressed in an expensive suit even at what appeared to be early morning. You're awake. The gentle one smiled. I'm Taejun. This is Siwon. We found you in the alley 3 days ago. 3 days. I'd lost 3 days. What do you want? My voice came out hoarse, damaged. They exchanged glances. The one called Siwon crossed his arms. What? For taking care of me. For, I couldn't say it. Couldn't acknowledge that they'd seen me at my most vulnerable, helped me through a heat. I can't pay you. I have nothing. We don't want payment. Taejun moved closer and I flinched. He stopped immediately, hands raised. I'm a doctor. You were dying. That's all. Nobody helps for free. 5 years with Taejun had taught me that much. Especially not 2 alphas. What's the arrangement? You share me? Take turns? Siwon's expression darkened. Is that what you think we are? I don't know what to think anymore. My hands trembled, twisting in the unfamiliar blanket. My pack threw me away. Why would strangers be different? Taejun sat carefully on the edge of the bed, maintaining distance. Because we're not your pack. We're not the people who hurt you. He gestured to Siwon. We're bonded mates. We don't need another Omega. We found you dying and brought you somewhere safe. That's all. Bonded mates. 2 alphas. I'd heard of it but never seen it. Most packs considered it unnatural. If you want to leave, the door's there. Siwon's voice was firm. We won't stop you. But you should eat something first. You're malnourished. How do you know? I'm a doctor, Taejun repeated gently. Your medical condition is my business when I'm treating you. You're severely underweight. Vitamin deficient. Your body was shutting down even before the heat. Shame burned through me. Even my body was failing. Defective. Stay a few days, Taejun offered. Recover your strength. Then decide what you want to do. I stayed because I had nowhere else to go. The first week was torture. They had a beautiful apartment, the kind I'd only seen in magazines. Large windows overlooking Seoul, modern furniture, art on the walls. Everything screamed wealth and stability, things I'd never have. I couldn't just sit idle. That wasn't how Omegas functioned in packs. I started cleaning at dawn before they woke. Scrubbed floors that were already spotless. Organized cabinets that didn't need organizing. Cooked elaborate meals even though Taejun said they usually ordered delivery. You don't have to do this, Siwon said one morning, finding me reorganizing their bookshelf by author and genre. I need to earn my keep. I didn't look at him, focusing on alphabetizing the fiction section. You're not a servant. You're a guest. Guests leave. I have nowhere to go. My hands moved faster, desperate. Please, let me be useful. He was quiet for a long moment. Fine, but you eat breakfast first. No more skipping meals. I couldn't eat unless they ate first. It felt wrong, presumptuous. Omegas ate last, after the alphas were satisfied. I pushed food around my plate while they watched with increasing concern. At night, I slept in the corner of the guest bed, on top of the blankets. Using their expensive sheets felt like theft. I'd wake at the slightest sound, alert for danger, for the moment they demand payment for their kindness. Yohan. Taejun found me hand-washing their clothes in the bathtub one afternoon. They had a perfectly good washing machine, but this felt more proper. More like earning my place. What are you doing? Laundry. We have a machine. This is better. More thorough. My hands were raw and red from the cold water and soap, But I couldn't stop. If I stopped being useful, they'd throw me out too. Your hands are bleeding. They're fine. They're not fine. Let me. Don't touch me. I jerked back, soapy water sloshing everywhere. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean, please don't be angry. Taejun's face crumpled with something like pain. I'm not angry. I'm worried. You're hurting yourself. I have to be useful. I have to prove I'm worth keeping. You don't have to prove anything. Yes, I do. The words burst out, desperate. Everyone wants something. Everyone has expectations. Just tell me what you want so I can do it right. The explosion came at 3 in the morning. Siwon found me in the kitchen, cleaning. I'd already scrubbed the counters twice, reorganized the pantry, and mopped the floor. My hands were shaking with exhaustion, but I couldn't stop. If I stopped, I'd have to think. Remember. What are you doing? His voice was sharp with concern and something else. Frustration, maybe. The grout between the tiles needed attention. I kept scrubbing, not looking up. At 3 in the morning? I couldn't sleep. Thought I'd make myself useful. Useful. He repeated the word like it tasted bitter. You've cleaned this kitchen 4 times this week. It's spotless. There's always something that needs doing. Stop. He didn't raise his voice, but the alpha command in it froze my hands. Just stop. I set down the brush, keeping my eyes on the floor. I'm sorry. I know I'm not doing enough. I'm trying. Not doing enough? His voice rose, control slipping. You're running yourself into the ground. You sleep 3 hours a night. You barely eat. You clean things that don't need cleaning and apologize for existing. I'm earning my keep. I stood, defensive. I won't be a burden. I won't be useless like. The words choked off. Like what? Siwon stepped closer. Like your pack said you were? Is that what this is about? They were right. The admission felt like glass in my throat. I couldn't give them pups. Couldn't fulfill my Omega duties. I was worthless there, so I have to be worth something here. We don't want a maid. Siwon's frustration finally broke through. We don't want you to earn anything. We just want you to be safe and healthy. Why? I screamed back, 5 years of pain erupting. Why would you care? You don't even know me. Everyone wants something. Everyone has conditions. Just tell me what you want so I can fail at that too. We want you to stop hurting yourself. His voice cracked. We want you to eat. To sleep. To stop acting like you're still living with people who hated you. You'll hate me too. Tears burned down my face. Everyone does eventually. Once they realize how broken I am. How defective. How useless. You're not. I couldn't get pregnant. The words tore out of me, ugly and raw. 5 years. 5 years of trying. Of treatments and herbs and prayers and failing every single month. My alpha got another Omega pregnant in 4 months. 4 months. What does that say about me? Siwon stared at me, something like understanding dawning in his eyes. That your body was protecting you. That's not. Taejun. He called out, not taking his eyes off me. We need you. Taejun appeared in flannel pajamas, hair disheveled. What's wrong? Tell him. Siwon gestured to me. Tell him what you told me about stress and fertility. Taejun looked between us, assessing. Then his expression softened with comprehension. Severe emotional stress can suppress fertility. It's a biological protection mechanism. If the body senses danger or inadequate resources, it prevents pregnancy. That's not what happened, I whispered. I'm just broken. I'm infertile. Taejun's words stopped me cold. Completely. Permanently. I can never have biological children. The kitchen went silent except for my ragged breathing. My first pack tried to force me to take another mate. Taejun continued quietly. A fertile alpha who could give them pups. When I refused, when I chose Siwon instead, they beat me unconscious and left me bleeding in an alley. He rolled up his sleeve, showing faded scars. Told me I'd failed as an alpha. That I was worthless. Defective. But you're an alpha, I said weakly. It's different. Is it? Siwon moved to Taejun's side, their hands linking automatically. They wanted us to break our bond. Take new mates. Produce children for the pack's glory. We refused. They cast us out. We left together, Taejun added. Built this life. Just the two of us. I stared at them, these two alphas who'd found each other against all odds. Then why take in another infertile Omega? Why would you want someone else who can't? Can't what? Siwon's voice gentled. Give us something we don't want? We're not looking for a breeding Omega, Taejun said firmly. We're not looking for someone to complete our pack with pups. We found you dying and brought you home because it was the right thing to do. But eventually you'll want each other, Siwon interrupted. That's all we've ever wanted. I sank down onto the kitchen floor, exhaustion and confusion overwhelming me. I don't understand. Everyone wants pups. It's what Omegas are for. No. Taejun crouched beside me, careful not to touch. It's what some Omegas choose. It's not your only value. Your worth isn't measured in pregnancy tests and ultrasounds. My pack said. Your pack was wrong. Siwon's voice was hard. They abused you, starved you, blamed you for their alpha's failures. And now you're here, still carrying their poison, still believing their lies. They're not lies if they're true. They're lies, both alphas said in unison. Taejun sat fully on the floor, close but not touching. When Siwon and I left our pack, I kept those fertility pills. Couldn't throw them away. They represented years of feeling worthless. Of my pack telling me I'd failed as an alpha because I couldn't sire pups. He pulled out his phone, showing me a photo of an orange prescription bottle. I kept them in the bathroom cabinet. A reminder of who I never wanted to become again. Until tonight, Siwon added. When we realized you might have seen them. Might have thought. That you wanted to fix me. The words tasted like ash. We don't want to fix you, Taejun said firmly. Because you're not broken. He stood, went to the sink, and pulled out the same orange bottle from the photo. In one smooth motion, he twisted off the cap and poured every pill down the drain, running the water until they dissolved completely. Those pills represent shame, he said, voice thick. Yours and mine. And we're done carrying it. I watched the water swirl, taking the medication with it. 5 years of failed treatments. 5 years of hope and disappointment. 5 years of my pack's growing resentment. I don't know how to not feel broken, I whispered. Neither did we, Siwon said, sitting on my other side. But we learned. Together. Why? The question felt childish, but I needed to understand. Why do you care? Taejun's smile was sad and understanding. Because when we were cast out, no one helped us. We survived, but barely. We swore if we ever found someone in that position, we'd do better. You're not a project, Siwon added. You're not charity. You're someone who deserves basic human kindness. That's all. I looked at these two alphas who'd saved my life, who'd cared for me through a heat without taking advantage, who were trying so hard to make me understand I had value. I don't know how to trust that, I admitted. We know, Taejun said gently. But we're patient. And we're not going anywhere. For the first time since they'd brought me to this apartment, I let myself cry, really cry. Not the silent tears I'd shed into my pillow, but deep, wrenching sobs that shook my entire body. And they stayed. Didn't touch me without permission, didn't make demands, didn't expect anything in return. They just stayed. 3 months after they found me, I could finally sleep through the night. Small victories, Taejun called them. Eating breakfast without guilt. Accepting new clothes without calculating their cost. Using their art supplies to paint again, something I hadn't done since Daehoon said it was a waste of time better spent on pack duties. I was starting to believe, tentatively, that maybe I could build something here. Something new. Then I saw Mincio at the market. It was supposed to be a simple errand. Taejun needed ingredients for dinner. He'd taken up cooking as a hobby, though his skills were questionable at best. Siwon and I had volunteered to shop while he worked a hospital shift. The outdoor market was crowded with Saturday shoppers. I was examining radishes when Siwon's hand suddenly gripped my shoulder. We should go, he said quietly, urgently. What? Why? Then I saw them. My old pack, clustered around a stall selling baby clothes. And in the center, impossible to miss, was Mincio. His belly was enormous now, clearly in his final trimester. He moved slowly, one hand supporting his lower back, the other resting on the swell where twins grew. My twins. The thought came unbidden and bitter. The pups that should have been mine. Juno saw me first. His eyes widened and he whispered something to the others. They turned as one, faces registering recognition, surprise, and something darker. Judgment. Mincio's gaze locked onto mine. His smile was slow, deliberate, and cruel. Yohan! He called out, loud enough to draw attention. Look how much I've grown. Your ALPHAS pups are so strong. I can barely walk. The pack members around him smirked. One, a beta named Sunning, laughed outright. He did what you couldn't in 5 years. Took him 4 months. My breath stopped. The market sounds faded into white noise. All I could see was that swollen belly, that triumphant smile, those pitying stares. The pack alpha is so proud, Mincio continued, approaching slowly, heavily. We're having twin boys. Strong alphas, the doctor says. They'll be perfect. Perfect. Unlike me. Unlike anything I could have given them. Yohan. Siwon's voice came from far away. We're leaving. But my feet wouldn't move. I was frozen, watching Mincio's hand trace circles over his belly, emphasizing what I'd failed to provide. Does it hurt? Mincio asked, false sympathy dripping from his words. Knowing you were replaced so easily? That your body refused to do the one thing omegas are meant for. That's enough. Siwon stepped between us, his alpha presence expanding, threatening. Back away from him. Or what? Grandmother Shin appeared beside Mincio, her weathered face hard. You'll defend a defective omega? We did him a favor, cutting him loose. He was dragging down the entire pack. He couldn't even get pregnant, Juno added, and the betrayal of hearing it from my former best friend shattered something inside me. 5 years of failure. Mincio proved the problem was never Taejun. The words hit like physical blows. My chest constricted. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Could only see that belly, those judging faces, the evidence of my fundamental inadequacy. I ran. I didn't remember getting home. One moment I was in the market, the next I was locked in the bathroom of Siwon and Taejun's apartment, hyperventilating on the tile floor. My phone buzzed. 17 missed calls from Siwon. Messages flooding in. Where are you? Yohan, please answer. We're worried. Just tell us you're safe. I couldn't respond. Couldn't do anything but press my forehead against the cold tile and try to remember how to breathe. Yohan. Taejun's voice came through the door. When had he gotten home? I'm coming in, okay? Siwon called me. Said what happened at the market. The lock clicked. They must have a key. Taejun entered slowly, still in his scrubs, concern etched across his features. He sank down beside me without touching, just being present. I see them everywhere, I whispered. Happy. Complete. Everything I couldn't give. They're not happy. Taejun's voice was gentle but firm. I've seen enough families in the ER to know. Forced relationships, unexpected pregnancies, pack pressure, none of that creates happiness. But he's pregnant. With twins. With the pups that should have been. My voice broke. Should have been what? Yours. Taejun shifted to face me. Yohan, those pups are growing in an omega whose alpha cheated on his bonded mate. In a pack that values breeding over basic human decency. Is that really what you wanted? I wanted to be enough. The admission tore out of me. I wanted my body to work. To not be defective. You're not defective. Siwon appeared in the doorway, still breathing hard from running home. What if they're right? I looked up at them both, these alphas who'd shown me nothing but kindness. What if there really is something wrong with me? What if my body knew I'd be a terrible parent and refused? Stop. Siwon knelt beside Taejun. Your body was protecting you from a dangerous situation. That's not defective. That's survival. How can you know that? Because I'm a doctor, Taejun said. Because I've studied this. Chronic stress, emotional abuse, malnutrition, they all impact fertility. Your body was screaming that you weren't safe, that bringing a child into that environment would be dangerous. But I wanted pups. The confession felt like weakness. I wanted to be a parent, to have a family. You can still have that, Siwon said quietly, just not the way your old pack defined it. I stared at them, these two alphas who'd built a life together despite their pack's rejection, who'd taken in a broken Omega without expecting anything in return. How do you do it? I asked. How do you move past the shame? Taejun's expression softened with understanding. Therapy. And remembering that our worth isn't determined by our reproductive organs. I don't know if I can believe that. You don't have to believe it today, Siwon said. Just don't give up. I started therapy the following week. Dr. Kong was an older beta who specialized in pack trauma. She didn't flinch when I told her about the 5 years of failure, the public rejection, the bond severance. Your pack engaged in reproductive coercion, she said calmly, taking notes. They made your value contingent on pregnancy, then blamed you when stress prevented conception. That's abuse. They were just disappointed. They were abusive. Her tone was firm. Disappointment doesn't involve public humiliation. It doesn't involve blaming someone for biological processes outside their control. Over weeks, she helped me understand the difference between my pack's lies and reality. How malnutrition affects fertility. How emotional trauma suppresses reproductive hormones. How my body had been trying to save me, not failing me. I started painting again, really painting, not just therapeutic sketches. Vibrant colors replacing the muted tones I'd forced myself into for 5 years. Taejun hung them around the apartment despite my protests. They're beautiful, he insisted. And they're yours. Your creativity, your vision. That's valuable. I started eating without calculating whether I'd earned each meal. Started sleeping under the blankets instead of on top of them. Started believing, slowly, that maybe my worth extended beyond my womb. Then, for months after the market encounter, Taejun showed up at the apartment. I was alone when the doorbell rang. Siwon was at work, Taejun on a hospital shift. I opened it expecting a delivery. Instead, I found my former alpha. He looked terrible. Dark circles under his eyes, clothes wrinkled, hair unwashed. Behind him, I could hear crying from his car, 2 infants wailing in stereo, and Minseo's voice, sharp and frustrated, trying to quiet them. Yohan. His voice cracked on my name. I made a mistake. My hand tightened on the door. You need to leave. Please. Just listen. He stepped closer, and I caught his scent, exhausted alpha, tinged with desperation. The twins came early. Minseo has severe postpartum depression. Can't bond with them. The pack is fracturing. Nobody knows how to manage things like you did. That's not my problem. I'm offering you your place back. He said it like it was a gift. Not as my bonded mate. That would be complicated with Minseo. But as Pack Omega. You could help raise the pups. The ones you always wanted. The words should have tempted me. Should have triggered that desperate need to be useful, to be wanted. Instead, they made me angry. You want me to raise another Omega's pups? My voice was dangerously quiet. The pups conceived while you were bonded to me? While I was trying everything to give you children? You'd have purpose again. A place in the pack. I have a place. The words exploded out. I have a home. I have alphas who don't measure my worth in pregnancy tests. Those alphas. His lip curled. 2 males bonded together? That's not natural. They'll realize eventually what you are, broken. Defective. They'll leave you just like. Get out. Siwon's voice cut through the air like a blade. I hadn't heard him come up the stairs, but he stood behind Taejun, radiating protective fury. Before I forget, I'm civilized and remember all the ways to hurt someone without leaving marks. Taejun turned, sizing up Siwon. This doesn't concern you, Alpha. This is between me and my. He's not yours. Taejun appeared beside Siwon, still in scrubs, having somehow been summoned. He stopped being yours the moment you broke that bond. He'll never have pups, Taejun said desperately, playing his final card. Never be a parent. Is that really the Omega you want? One who can't give you children. We'd choose him over 1,000 hypothetical children, Taejun said firmly. Because unlike you, we understand that people aren't breeding stock. From the car, the crying intensified. Minseo's voice rose, sharp and overwhelmed. Taejun, I can't, they won't stop. You need to go, Siwon said coldly. Your Omega and your pups need you. The one you threw away doesn't. Taejun looked at me one last time. You'll regret this. When they realize what you can't give them. The only thing I regret, I said, finding my voice, is wasting 5 years on someone who couldn't see my worth. Now leave. And don't come back. He left, shoulders slumped, returning to the crying infants and overwhelmed Omega he'd chosen over me. The door closed. Silence filled the apartment. Then I shattered. What if he's right? The words tumbled out between sobs. What if you both wake up one day and realize I'm not enough? That you want a family, real pups, not just a broken Omega who can't. Stop. Siwon pulled me against him, something he rarely did without explicit permission. You are enough. You have always been enough. But I can't give you children. We don't want you for children, Taejun said, wrapping around my other side. We want you because you're you. Because you're brave and creative and stronger than you realize. I'm not strong. I'm broken. You survived, Siwon said fiercely. You survived 5 years of emotional abuse. You survived being thrown away. You survived bond severance and emergency heat. You're still here, still fighting. That's not broken. That's incredibly strong. What if I want to be a parent someday? The question I'd been afraid to ask finally emerged. What if I want a family? Then we'll build one, Taejun said simply. There are so many ways to have a family. Adoption. Fostering. Found family. You'd consider that? We'd consider whatever would make you happy, Siwon said. Because that's what people who love you do. The word hung in the air between us. You love me? My voice was small, disbelieving. Yes, they said in unison. Even though I'm defective? You're not defective. Taejun's voice was gentle but firm. Say it with me. I'm not defective. I can't. Yes, you can. Siwon's hand found mine. I'm not defective. I took a shaky breath. I'm not defective. Again. I'm not defective. Again. I'm not defective. The words came out stronger, more certain. And for the first time since my 23rd birthday, since finding Taejun with Minseo, since being cast out by my pack, I started to believe it might actually be true. 6 months after Siwon and Taejun found me dying in that alley, I woke to sunlight streaming through curtains I'd helped choose. My curtains. In my room. In our home. The shift from their apartment to our home had been gradual, like ice melting in spring. But it had happened, and I could finally feel it in my bones. I belonged here. I padded to the kitchen where Taejun was attempting breakfast. Smoke rose from the pan. Is that supposed to be black? I asked, peering over his shoulder. It's caramelized? He offered hopefully, poking at what might have once been eggs. It's carbon. I hip-checked him away from the stove, laughing. Go sit. I'll fix this. You don't have to. I know. I met his eyes, making sure he understood the difference. I want it because I like cooking, not because I'm earning my keep. His smile was brilliant. Progress. Siwon emerged in his suit, already on his phone, but he paused long enough to press a kiss to my temple. Casual affection that 6 months ago would have made me flinch. Now it made me feel warm. I have court today, he said. Should be home by 7. I'll make japchae, I offered, then hesitated. Unless you'd rather order in? Japchae sounds perfect. He squeezed my shoulder. But only if you want to cook. No obligations. After they left for work, I settled in the living room with my sketchbook. Dr. Kong had suggested documenting my journey through art. The early pages were dark, harsh lines, muted colors, fractured figures. The recent ones burst with light. I was sketching Taejun's disastrous cooking attempt when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. My thumb hovered over the delete button, but curiosity won. I opened the message. A photo. Mincio, looking exhausted and hollow-eyed, holding 2 crying infants. The text beneath read, "This could have been yours. But you're too broken to appreciate what you lost." My hands shook. Old wounds tried to reopen, but something had changed. I looked at that photo, really looked at it, and instead of envy, I felt pity. Those babies deserved better than being used as weapons. Mincio deserved better than postpartum depression in an unsupportive pack. Even Taejun deserved better than the prison he'd built for himself. But none of that was my responsibility anymore. I blocked the number, then texted my therapist about the incident. Growth, Dr. Kong called it. Not letting their poison sink in. That evening, I brought up the conversation I'd been avoiding for months. We were on the couch, Siwon reading case files, Taejun scrolling through medical journals, and me curled between them sketching. Domestic. Perfect. And suddenly, terrifyingly important to me. "Do you ever think about the future?" I asked quietly. Siwon's hands stilled on his papers. Taejun set down his tablet. They'd learned to recognize when I needed their full attention. "What about it?" Taejun asked gently. "Do you?" I struggled with the words. "Do you wish you could have pups? Real ones?" The question I'd been too afraid to ask. The fear that kept me awake some nights, wondering when they'd realize what they were missing. "We have each other," Siwon said, his voice certain. "That's real." But Yohan. Taejun shifted to face me fully. When I learned I was infertile, I mourned. Not just the children I'd never have, but the life I'd imagined. The traditional pack structure. All of it. He took my hand. Then I met Siwon. And I realized I'd been mourning the wrong things. I wasn't sad about not having pups. I was sad about not fitting the mold others created for me. "There are so many ways to build a family," Siwon added. "Biology is just one. And honestly, not the most important one. What if?" I took a breath, voicing the hope I'd barely admitted to myself. What if I still want to be a parent? Not to replace anything, but because I genuinely want to raise a child. Their expressions softened with understanding. "Then we figure it out together," Taejun said. "Adoption. Fostering. There are so many children who need homes." "You'd really consider that?" My voice cracked with hope and disbelief. "We'd consider whatever would make our family complete," Siwon said firmly. "Whether that's just the 3 of us, or whether we open our home to a child who needs one." "Someone like me," I whispered. "Someone told they're not enough." "Exactly like you." Taejun pulled me against him. "Someone who deserves to know their worth isn't conditional." 1 year after they found me, we submitted our application to the foster system. The process was invasive: home inspections, background checks, interviews about our unconventional pack structure. Some agencies rejected us outright. 2 alphas and an omega? Not traditional. Not suitable. But we found one caseworker, an older beta named Mrs. Park, who looked at our application and smiled. "I've been in this system 40 years, she said during our interview. "I've seen traditional packs abuse children and unconventional families save them. What matters isn't your designation. It's your capacity for love." She placed our file on her desk. "I have a child I think you should meet." Hannah was 5 years old, tiny and fierce, with a scowl that could melt steel. Her file read like a nightmare, abandoned by her birth pack at 3 for being too aggressive for an omega. Bounced between 4 foster homes, each returning her for behavioral issues. "She bites," Mrs. Park warned. "Refuses to submit. Throws tantrums. Most families can't handle her." I thought of myself at 5, already learning that omegas should be soft, compliant, easy. Already being shaped into someone else's expectations. "We'd like to meet her," I said. The meeting was held at the agency, a sterile room with uncomfortable chairs and toys that looked unused. Hannah sat in the corner, arms crossed, glaring at everyone with dark, suspicious eyes. Mrs. Park made introductions. "Hannah, these are the people I told you about. Siwon, Taejun, and Yohan." "Don't want them," Hannah said immediately. They'll send me back too. The words hit like arrows, each one an echo of my own fears. Of being unwanted. Disposable. Too difficult to love. I knelt down to her level, keeping distance. What if we promised not to send you back? Everyone promises. Her voice was hard, defensive. Then I'm too loud or too angry or too Omega. What if, I said carefully, we promised you could be exactly as loud and angry as you need to be? Her eyes narrowed with suspicion. Why? Because I used to be told I was too much too, I admitted. Too emotional. Too difficult. Not Omega enough. And I believed it for a long time. Something flickered in her expression. Recognition, maybe. What changed? She asked. I gestured to Siwon and Taejun. I found people who didn't want me to be different. Who liked me exactly as I am. Even the angry parts? Especially the angry parts, Siwon said. Anger is important. It tells us when something's wrong. Hannah studied us for a long moment. Then she reached into her pocket and pulled out a crumpled drawing, stick figures in violent crayon, dark and chaotic. The last family said this was bad. Said good Omegas draw flowers and houses. I took the drawing carefully, studying the wild energy in every line. This is incredible. It's honest. That's better than 1,000 fake flowers. Really? Her voice was small, hopeful. Really? I pulled out my phone, showing her photos of my recent paintings, the dark ones, the angry ones, the ones that showed my journey through pain. I paint like this too. When I'm feeling big emotions. Her eyes went wide. You're an Omega? Yes. But you paint angry things? Sometimes. I showed her one particularly violent piece, red and black slashes across canvas. This is from when I was very hurt and very angry. Painting it helped. My old pack said Omegas can't be angry. Your old pack was wrong, Taejun said gently. Everyone gets angry. It's what you do with it that matters. Hannah looked at the drawing in my hands, then at me, then at Siwon and Taejun. Something in her small face cracked open, vulnerable and terrified. What if I'm too broken? She whispered. What if I can't be good enough? My heart shattered and reformed simultaneously. I saw myself in her, every fear, every wound, every desperate need to be worthy. You're not broken, I said firmly. You're surviving. And that takes incredible strength. But everyone sends me back. Then everyone else is wrong. Siwon moved closer, his alpha presence protective rather than threatening. Not you. Them. We're not promising it'll be easy, Taejun added honestly. Building a family is work. There'll be hard days. But we promise we won't give up on you. Ever. Hannah looked at each of us, searching for lies, for the catch, for the inevitable disappointment. Then she did something that made my breath stop. She held out the drawing to me. Can I draw with you sometime? Anytime you want, I promised, taking it like the precious gift it was. The transition took 6 months. Weekly visits that became weekends, then a full week, then permanent placement. Hannah tested every boundary, pushed every limit, waiting for us to break our promise. We didn't. When she threw tantrums, we sat nearby until the storm passed, then held her if she wanted holding. When she bit Taejun during a meltdown, he calmly cleaned the wound and said, I know you're scared. But we use words, not teeth, okay? When she destroyed one of my paintings in a rage, I helped her clean up the mess, then gave her her own canvas. Paint whatever you feel. Get it out. Slowly, glacially, she began to trust. 8 months after meeting Hannah, I woke to small fingers poking my face. Yohan. Her whisper was hesitant. I had a bad dream. This was new. Usually, she suffered nightmares alone, too proud or too scared to ask for comfort. Come here. I lifted the blanket, and she scrambled in, tiny and warm against my side. Siwon and Taejun stirred, automatically shifting to make room. Our bed had gotten crowded, but none of us minded. What was the dream about? Taejun asked softly. That you sent me back. Said I was too much trouble. Never, all 3 of us said in unison. She was quiet for a moment, then, do you wish I was different? Quieter? Better at being Omega? I thought about Taejun, about my old pack, about 5 years of trying to be someone I wasn't. No, I said firmly. I wish you'd be exactly who you are. Loud when you need to be loud. Angry when you need to be angry. Yourself always. Even if I never learned to be proper? Especially then, Siwon said. Proper is overrated. But my old pack said. Your old pack was wrong about a lot of things, I interrupted. Just like mine was. But we get to choose our family now. And we choose each other. Hannah burrowed deeper into the blankets, safe between us. Am I really yours? Forever. Do you want to be? Taejun asked. She nodded against my chest, fierce and certain. Yes. Then yes, I said, my voice thick with emotion. You're really ours. Forever. Even though I can't give you real pups? The question stopped my heart. How many times had I asked myself the same thing? How long had I believed my worth was tied to my womb? You're not a pup, I said carefully. You're our daughter. That's more real than biology could ever be. How do you know? Because family isn't about blood. Siwon's hand found mine over Hannah's small form. It's about choice. And every day we choose each other. Every single day, Taejun agreed. Hannah was quiet for a long time. Then, so softly I almost missed it, I choose you too. 2 years after Siwon and Taejun found me dying in that alley, I stood in our living room surrounded by paintings, mine and Hannah's, hanging side by side. Violent colors next to gentle ones. Angry slashes beside hopeful blooms. A visual representation of our journey. Hannah was sprawled on the floor, drawing with intense concentration. Siwon was attempting to help cook dinner under my supervision. Taejun was telling a terrible medical joke that made us all groan. This was my family. Not perfect. Not traditional. But ours. My phone buzzed, a message from Dr. Kong. How are you feeling today? I looked around the room at the people who'd chosen me, who I'd chosen in return. At the life we'd built from broken pieces. I'm enough, I typed back. Exactly as I am. And for the first time in my life, I believed it completely. Hannah looked up from her drawing, holding it out proudly. 4 stick figures holding hands, surrounded by hearts and stars and wild, chaotic color. It's us, she announced. Our family. It's perfect, I said and meant it. Because it was. Not despite our brokenness, but because of it. We understood each other's wounds, celebrated each other's healing, and built something beautiful from the pieces others had discarded. Family wasn't about blood or biology or meeting someone else's expectations. It was about choosing each other every single day and being chosen in return. And that was more than enough. That was everything.